Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I am so glad I learned about parallelograms in high school math instead of how to do my taxes. Well, it comes in so handy during parallelogram season. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot. Come on, Patriots. At this time in history, we've got to stand up. Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. And a good morning to you. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best in tires and service, along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the line and have a Pledge of Allegiance. Patriot, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can hear the pride in your voice. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. All right. Time for the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. Hello, Roger, at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. You better believe it. They've got the best of tools and equipment for your rental for finishing any kind of a project you've got. Now, I'm thinking spring. What are we, about 9-10 days away? And I certainly hope that you get a hold of our friends at K&R Rental for anything that's going to get you in the mood to fix up and shape up and everything else for springtime. They've got all the equipment for both long and short-term rental. Give them a call, 678-3122 on the Burley-Paul Highway, K&R Rental. And right now, here's the weather.
Warming temperatures for today. We will see just a little bit of sunshine. Here's what's your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A high of about 47, a slight breeze out of the southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, then gradually clearing in the overnight hours with a low of about 26. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 49, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Appreciate it. Brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Hayburn. And they get there early in the morning to serve you. Number to call, 678-3122. Quick message to the listeners that called yesterday and were inquiring about the sound on the program yesterday regarding the fuzz and some kinds that sounded like it was burning or whatever. The engineers are going to be looking at the problem today and trying to get that alleviated. So whatever, if it comes up again today, they're going to be trying to get it fixed. And that is from the owner. So we are taking care of it. Want to remind you about Daryl's Cleaners. And Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Nobody takes care of your clothes as good as they do. I mean, they treat them like you're number one, but they treat them like they're their clothes. And they know how expensive clothing is. And so I'll tell you what, they want to make sure you look sharp, stay sharp, and they will send those clothes back to you looking almost brand spanking new. Daryl's Cleaners, Kevin and Cindy and the folks at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I urge you to stop in and see them today. I got to get in there this week, too. Daryl's Cleaners in Burley. Caller, I'll be right there. Yesterday we made the announcement, and it is true. April 1st, April Fool's Day, but this is not April Fool's. It's the truth. It's legitimate. We are going to be at Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley for our Back to the Lunch Bunch attitude right there, 11:30 on April 1st. Don't you forget it. Going to be fantastic. And, boy, don't forget, they've got so many new menu additions. Like the one I'm going to try is that Big Dipper Melt tender pot roast with melted Swiss cheese. Knock your boots off. Delicious. And don't forget Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. It's really, really the truth with super nice people, America's Diner. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Ted.
Hello, Keith.
Hello, how are we doing today?
Well, I'm hanging in, hanging on, frustrated with some of the noise on the line, but we'll do the best we can. Good morning. Go ahead. Tell me what you need.
Okay, I'm going to scratch your gray matter this morning. You've heard of the phrase of being between a rock and a hard place?
I'm there usually.
I've been there many times, right?
Oh, thousands.
Yes. What do you think about the jurors that are going to be on George Floyd's case?
To use phraseology, they're damned if they do, and they are damned if they don't. We're looking at a world right now, and I don't think I have to tell you this, you understand it, but we're looking at a world right now where if the left doesn't get their way, they will riot, they will disrupt, they will kill, they will burn, they will loot, they'll do everything. I just don't see that there can be a good outcome in this trial. If I were the policeman going into that trial, he has no optimism whatsoever. I think he is going to be the lead goat that's going to be sacrificed. And how else can you see it? I just honestly am afraid for the fairness and equity to that policeman versus the absolute heinous left that's going to tear that city apart.
But are they going to take into consideration the life that he lived, drugs and robberies and everything else that he committed? He was not a good person.
No, but that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant, Keith. Come on, you know that.
I realize that.
Yeah, but what's going to happen is they're going to paint the picture that they have since his death. I mean, they're naming everything in almost like he's a patron saint, this George Floyd, and it's disgusting. And for anybody on the defense to go after and try to reevaluate that in front of the public, that also is going to create a lot of problems, chaos, and anarchy in Minneapolis. Your point is very well taken this morning. Damned if they do and damned if they don't. Minneapolis is in a very precarious situation this morning.
Let me give you a situation where you could win a dozen cookies. What is the name of that policeman that's on trial?
Oh, it's a funny last name, and I'm not going to waste a lot of time trying to come up with it right now. But I can't remember his name. Pardon me?
You either win or lose.
I lost. It doesn't come to mind right away, and nor am I going to hurry and scurry to try to find it, because the situation itself is more important than the name. The officer, I don't think, is going to get a fair trial. Underline the word fair. Keith, I always appreciate you.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. It's going to be the lives of a lot of people are going to be changed forever.
Yeah, when you look at the personality of Minneapolis, and I know Minneapolis better than most. I lived there for 3 years going to college. And I'm saddened by what's happened to Minneapolis. I'm saddened by what might happen to Minneapolis. And I just think this is a tempestual teapot right now that's going to boil over and cause all kinds of trouble. Keith, as usual, you did a good job this morning. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Thanks. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Hey, Anthony's over at Save on Shells. That guy puts in more hours and does such a great job providing you with the best of camper shells for your pickup. That's it, plain and simple. The best for you. 1827 Overland in Burley. And don't forget, give him a call. Make sure he's right there on the lot, 312-1525. And he's got over 90 different camper shells right there. I mean, here a camper shell, there a camper shell. Oh, my goodness. And if he doesn't have the one you're looking for, order it. I mean, this guy is a wizard, and he handles the best ARE shells. How do I know? Because I own one on my pickup. Save on Shells in Burley with Anthony, 312-1525. Also want to give a great big shout-out to Ramsey Heating and Electric. And not hard to brag about these people because they are so nice, they are so efficient, they are so knowledgeable, and so much into serving you with all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459, and they're open 7:30 to 5, Monday through Friday. You know, it goes without saying that when you're in business 7 decades, you must have done a whole bunch of things right, and they did. And they are at Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning. The menu at the Burley Senior Center today is chili and all the trimmings. It's going to be great.
Okay, now, Joe, what do you put on your chili?
Oh, crackers and cheese.
Okay, and do you mix it with some real wake you up, make your ears itch hot sauce?
Yes.
Okay.
That sounds like a winner.
All right, Joe. We'll send everybody by the Senior Center on Overland for a great chili lunch. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, Joe. God bless you, man. Thank you. Joe Taylor, world's greatest cheerleader for the Senior Center. Thank you very much. Knock, knock. Who's there? Government officials, open up. Why? Well, we're here to confiscate your guns. You say to yourself, it'll never happen? Well, don't bet your car or the ranch on it. It has happened elsewhere in history, and very possibly is in the works for here in the United States. It will start, and it has in the past, and I'll tell you what, we're going to be seeing the stoppage of certain guns that are not any longer going to be for sale. We're going to be seeing cancellations of ammunition or stoppages of ammunition. And I would say this, rural folks, us, we need to store up, stock up, and lock up our guns and ammo in places of access but not accessible to others, including the knock-knock folks. I urge everybody to have your guns, but don't talk about your guns. I mean, don't go to the coffee shop and say, hey, I've got this 30-30 and I've got this 357 and I've got... No, don't talk about the guns you have. Be quiet. Be quiet. We are at a time in this nation's history where closed mouth might be a lot better. Kind of like the wolf deal, you know, shoot, shovel, and shut up. Don't say anything. And I think it's a great time to be working with the local sheriffs and find out just exactly where they, the local sheriffs, and their deputies stand so that you know whether you've got someone on your side or not. This Second Amendment is going to be looked at and scrutinized really hard over the next couple of weeks with the Democrats. I anticipate by the 1st of July, April Fool's Day, which would be fitting, that we're going to be seeing, hearing, and listening to certain edicts about gun ownership and control that they're going to try to pass. That's my prognostication, and I'm staying with it. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Dino Septic Service. Oh, these people are good, and they've got the most modern of equipment to serve you. I mean, Dino Septic Service with the best in backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, septic inspections, sewer and sink drain lines cleaned. They do it all. They do the jobs that you and I, we don't want to do. I tell you what, they are so good and so efficient. They work for us, and they are nice, efficient people. Like I said, with the best of equipment. Dino Septic Service. Call them at 436-6526 or 678-1638 or 735-8281. The best. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb. When guns are outlawed, only outlaws in and out of government will have guns.
Amen.
But it's just so sad. I've talked to some of these refugees that have come in here over the years, and that was the one thing that stood out. I said, why did you lose your freedom? Well, they took our guns. And they have various ways of doing that. And this is what's scary. They come and say, well, if you want to see your child that's at school today, again, you'll give us the guns. I mean, I've read a lot about this, and I'm sure you have too, but it's pretty scary. And if the Second Amendment really protects all the rest of them, but the most important elected office, of course, Zeb, is the county sheriff.
That's right.
He's the last line of defense between the feds and us, and if he capitulates, and of course the way they get the sheriffs compromised, and of course now they're going, after the sheriffs, that they're just as evil and mean as the police.
Yeah.
And so they're going to try and defund the sheriff's office or point out that they're evil villains and they need to be done away with.
Well, let me jump in here. Hey, Adrian, let me have a little toehold here. Hold on a second. That's why I made the comment that right now is a great time for citizens groups, private citizens, whomever, call their local sheriff's office and find out exactly where these people stand, what their thoughts are on protecting yourself and your family and your home. You need to have a personality profile of the sheriff, the sheriff's office, and what they do or do not think about private gun ownership. I say that because there are some, as you're well aware, that are not going to stand up for their citizenry.
Oh, absolutely not. They'll just capitulate. And the way they get them to capitulate is the way they, you get, I'll use the example in Twin Falls, okay? So they brought in the arsenic issue. There's no science behind it, but I talked to Alan Bates. He was the public works director or whatever it was there when I used to live in Twin, and I said, where's the science? He said, well, I know there isn't any, but if we don't go along with the $23 million arsenic reduction program, then we lose all of our other grants.
Yeah.
So, see, I mean, it's all government by extortion.
Yep.
And that's exactly what they do, even with the police departments. If you want all the latest police equipment and so forth, then you're going to have to go along with what. But as soon as you take back in the 1940s, the Supreme Court ruled it's not without due process for the federal government to control that, which is finances. That's the real big issue.
Yeah.
And with all this stimulus money, you better believe there's plenty of, strings attached on that.
No, I agree. I just think that we're at a time right now where a naive attitude is going to create a lot of problems. I'm telling America they better wake up and take stock of what's around them. Adrian, I got another call waiting. I've got a commercial break. God bless you for your call. Haven't heard from you for a while. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Thank you. Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Wick's Cafe. Oh, Wick's Steak Place, I should say, and Burnout Saloon. Oh, I tell you what, Deanne and I really missed last weekend. We were headed over there, honestly, on Friday night, and we got waylaid and couldn't get over to Wick's Steak Place and Burnout Saloon at 18 East Main Street in Declo. I mean, you don't have to ask where it is. Just look where all the cars are and all your friends are. This is the place to go eat. I'm telling you. From hamburgers all the way to steaks, prime ribs, lobster, chicken, you name it, it's there. Holy mackerel. And you can tell it's a great place to eat because everybody walks out the door with a smile on their face. It is one great place to go eat. They're open Wednesday through Saturday from 4 to closing time. You stop over. Wick's Steak Place and Burnout Saloon, 18 East Main Street in Declo. Oh, it's good. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
Didn't they try to confiscate guns in 1776?
Yeah, they did. Old King George had a lot of edicts that he was trying to impose, and it's really funny. The revolutionaries here in this country, the farmers and those that were trying to establish a new land, they kind of got together and said, George, you better take your redcoats and go home or we're going to kick their fannies, and they did.
Exactly. And that might be what has to happen again. I hope not.
Yeah, but if you read my blog from last week, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Exactly.
Hey, I've got something else for you to give an answer to this morning.
Uh-oh.
And I cut this out explicitly to bring up to you, Doug, because I know that you're a news junkie like I am. And it was put in a form of a cartoon that was in the paper. Have you ever read the cartoon called WUMO, W-U-M-O?
No, sir.
All right. Well, it's in the Times News and it's in other papers. It's a syndicated cartoon. But the only reason I read this and the only reason I cut it out is because, not as a cartoon, not to be funny, because of the realization of what they were saying in the cartoon is absolutely coming true. Now, picture this. There is a press conference. And there is a president or a senator, it doesn't explicitly say who this person is, standing behind a podium. Next to him at the podium are people from the United States Navy, and we've got generals, etc. And here's the verbiage, and think about how scary this is for today. Quote, I know we're all looking forward to world peace, but unfortunately, we had to cancel it, because we found out exactly how many people are employed in the weapons industry, and that is something our economy just can't handle. Think about that.
Whoa.
Think about that.
Yeah. That makes you wonder.
What has Biden done in the last 3 weeks that absolutely made a lot of jaw-dropping with people on all sides of the political spectrum? He started sending what into where? Rockets into Syria.
Yes, sir. Yes, the reason they're battling in the Middle East is because the Middle East doesn't play by the same rules the rest of the world does, by their market, their money.
Yep.
The money isn't controlled in just a couple banks. They
That's right.
control their money.
That's right.
And they're trying to get them to submit to the couple or three banks that control all the money, so then they can have a one world government.
The Middle East is and has been and always will be the tinderbox for a match to be struck and the world to blow up.
Exactly. And look what President Trump done in the Middle East. Old horseface Kerry said there will never be peace in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And look what President Trump has done.
I agree. And we've got that blasted fuzz back again. I'm very upset about that. Hope they get that fixed soon. Go ahead.
I mean, he has brought the Middle East together to stand up against Iran, who is wanting to dominate the Middle East, Yes, he wants to wipe Israel off the map. He wants to wipe America off the map.
I have always maintained that whoever speaks ill against Israel is a person that needs to be watched as a very sinister human being.
Yes, and Kerry and Biden and all those have been speaking ill against Israel.
That's right.
They are against Israel.
That's right. I could not agree more. We've got a lot of trouble in River City, and it's not because the trombone player's got a sore lip.
That's right. And if you want to have some humorous reading, yesterday I went to the CDC.gov and looked up the COVID-19 suggestions on do choose masks that work. You read down through it, and there's one spot it says do not choose these masks.
Yeah.
That are made of fabric that makes it hard to breathe, such as example vinyl.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, who would have to be told not to use a vinyl mask?
Doug, now right there you've opened up a Pandora's box when you say who would have to be told. When you have lefty loons that are doing what they're doing with the so-called climate change, etc., and how they want to strip us of any energy program that's going to be efficient and cost-effective, don't ask yourself who would put on a vinyl mask.
Well, I've said for years we need to remove all warning labels and we'll clean up the gene pool.
I got to run, buddy. Thank you so much. Tell everybody about the seniors real quick.
Let's do what we can for our senior centers. Let's support them, go eat there, and have some yummy desserts, and leave with a full tummy and a full heart.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You know, I got to tell you that I'm not very patient when it comes to dumb news. Who, and really, I want you to call me, and if you disagree with me, that's fine. That's what this is, a public forum for you to express your opinions as much as it is mine. But who in the world really cares? Who gives a real darn about Prince Harry and his wife Meghan? This thing has taken over the newscast. And yesterday, my wife was sitting there just before the news at 5 o'clock. We'd come in from doing our feeding and our chores, and she said, I'll bet you the lead story is going to be all about Prince Harry and his wife Meghan, that, oh my goodness, they're being so ostracized, and it was so bad being part of the royal family, and oh, woe is me. That's going to be the lead story. It was all night long. Who gives one darn about Prince Harry and his wife Meghan? They left the royal family. They had it all. I could not care less. I think that Meghan, his wife, this Meghan Markle, is absolutely an opportunist that is using the media for fame that she did not get as an American actress. And I think both her and old red-haired Harry are gluttons for lights, camera, action. Just doing an interview with Oprah Winfrey is the solidification of how I feel about that. I mean, who cares? Caller, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Zed. There's one other subject I'd like to touch on, if it's okay.
Go ahead.
There's the push to legalize marijuana here in the state of Idaho. Are we going to end up with a blue state here?
Oh, yeah, it's coming.
Are these people still going to be able to have driver's license where they'll be out on a road bond?
Sure.
Get into an accident, and your insurance rates and mine are going to hit the roof?
Absolutely. You know, the left loony ideas that have perpetrated themselves in other loony areas, especially California, it's going to come, Tony. I mean, decency and right living and morality is being thrown in the trash can, and all this garbage is being perpetrated right on the front door of every American.
And I don't want to see Idaho's name changed to Idafornia. And I don't want this state turning into a blue state. I live in the free state of Idaho, and I want to keep it that way.
I couldn't agree more. There's a lot to be said for preserving the past and preserving what is best for families and morality, etc. And the way that we're opening up the door to sleaze and filth, the sky's the limit, Tony, if we don't put our foot down, and I don't see too many people picking their foot up to put it down.
Well, I still got this idea running around in my head to try to unite the veterans in this country, and not only the veterans, the rest of the family that belong to veterans. We don't have to have a mob out there. We just have to have people united, a whole bunch of people that are going to show some force here.
Yeah.
To get things done.
Amen. I would love it. I mean, I'm very conservative, and I don't like the way things are going. I have no hesitancy to speak out. They are not going to take away my First Amendment. I mean, they'll pull the plug on this radio program long before I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to keep saying it the way it is. I don't like the way things are going in the schools. I don't like the way things are going in society. I don't like being coerced and our arms twisted to accept it. It's sleaze and it's filth, and it's got to stop. There. I'm going to shut up for a moment and say thank you for your call.
Well, I got one thing in mind. If they try taking our guns away, they are going to open up a black market in this country, and nobody will ever know where the AK-47s are coming from.
I agree. It's going to create the turmoil and the tension and the problems. I'll tell you, I agree with you. Tony, always a pleasure to have you and Mary, dear friends. God bless you both. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right. Thank you. Caller, thank you for waiting. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, back to Megan. My attitude for her is she's a gold digger.
Yep.
And she just wanted the key to the vault, and they didn't give it to her, so now she's pissed.
Well, that sums it up, lady. By golly, we just canceled the Oprah interview. Thank you very much. I love it. No, I don't care. I could not care less about Prince Harry, which I think is all facade anyway. Prince Harry and his wife Meghan sitting there going, oh, well, there was bad things over there with the royal family. They didn't like me and all that. I don't care. Why in the world does the news media waste time, and it's not even a part of our country? This is garbage as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's a smokescreen, too. But for her to say it's racist that her son can't become king or whatever, no, her husband's ninth in line.
And really, do you care? I don't care if they appoint the janitor.
Oh.
I mean, what a waste of time, and our news media is so frivolous and stupid when we've got thousands upon thousands of illegal aliens coming into this country, thumbing their nose at our laws, and then getting on buses and going all over the United States, spreading COVID and bringing their gangs, etc. in. The news media's covering Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Are you kidding me?
It's a smokescreen.
And the smoke's getting thicker. Thank you for your call. God bless you. Thank you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Zeb, you don't suppose that the reason they're keeping some National Guard people back in Washington, that they're indoctrinating them to help gather up the guns?
I have heard this from other people, and there again, I don't speculate on this program. I just call hard, cold facts. But I am not, wait a minute, Bob, I am not going to argue with you on this because there could be some stemming of truth to that degree. I'm very concerned as to why all this garbage with our Capitol and the fencing and the wire and all the dangers and everything, I'm very concerned. I'm open for any suggestions.
Well, it's a sad, sorry situation that we're in.
Yes, it is. And it all is because...
The guy that's in charge of us right now, a dictator, it isn't Biden, it's Biden.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Have a good day, Zebra.
God bless you, Bob. I agree with you. Thank you very, very much. You know, one thing that needs to be said right here, and I'm going to find out because I'm going to call our Attorney General Wasden. By the way, I called him the last time over an issue, and gee, he never called me back. That's working for the public. But the Florida Attorney General was on television this morning, and she is going to be suing the Biden administration because the Biden administration is allowing illegals not only across the border, but going anywhere they choose in the United States at the public's expense. And I want to hear from Wasden what he's going to do as far as protecting the state of Idaho. That'll be interesting. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, and Parts, 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. I mean, when you've got jobs to do like lifting and digging and pushing and carrying and grading and leveling, you want the dudes that can get the job done. And that's, of course, equipment from Barry Equipment and Rental. They've got all the Bobcats, all the shapes and sizes. They've got all the trenchers and the scissor lifts, and they got all the deuce-on wheel loaders and excavators, and really great rental programs and purchase programs. You better check it out today. Barry Equipment and Rental. Sales, service, and parts, Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244. Thanks, Sean. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. You know, in this last election we had, Donald Trump only got 65% in Idaho. That is scary to me. Yeah, we're still a red state, but how long can we maintain that?
Well, Keith, I'll tell you what, your concerns are valid because Rick Manning, that's on our program every Monday from Washington, D.C., has said that with his studies, Idaho is transitioning to become more and more to the blue or purple color. And he said, look out, there are forces that are coming in here that would like to change the entire political structure. So your thoughts and your fears are well-founded.
I just wonder in Boise, Idaho, what the percentage of Republicans and Democrats are now, because all of these people from these states like Oregon, Washington, and California are moving here to get away from the tyranny.
Yeah, but they're
going to try to institute it here.
Yeah, they're bringing their dog with them. I'll tell you what, I'm very concerned. My son lives up there, and he says many, many times when he talks to me, Dad, you wouldn't believe the crazies that are coming in. Keith, your point's well taken, as always. Thank you for your call this morning. Appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, thanks. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. You know, I wonder how much luck we're going to have defending ourselves with our court system that's gone crazy. The Supreme Court won't even defend the president because of voter rights. And there's lots of evidence substantiating that. You know, our lower courts have got to be totally corrupt if the top court is that bad.
Well, I can't lump every court system into the negativity of being illegal, illicit, and not doing their job. I can't do that. I will say that I've been let down, if you will, by the Supreme Court. I thought some of the justices that were appointed would have more common sense on issues that deserve more conservatism, but boy, Jerry, I'm kind of like you. I'm really concerned what's going to happen, and I've lost a lot of trust in common sense when it comes to the Supreme Court.
Well, and you got a law enforcement officer that's being tried, and, you know, they're going to convict him. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's too darn bad because he was just doing his job. That guy was a nut. He was a doper. He was, you know, he was a problem child from the word go.
But
and people don't even look at that anymore.
But Jerry, you have to honestly say,
have a free hand.
Okay,
You know, and run this country, and
Yeah.
We can't do that.
Yeah. Jerry, you have to be honest, though, and say that...
Right back.
Wait a minute. We can't both talk over each other. And you have to be honest and say that if excessive force was used, which a knee to the neck area, around the larynx, etc., is considered and would be considered excessive force, we have to be very, very careful about the force that was given and opted for in that situation. And if there was criminal intent, that's what this case is all about. Thank you for your call this morning, Jerry. I appreciate it.
You have a wonderful day. May the Lord bless.
Hey, Jerry, by the way, what's the name of your dog? It's upset all of a sudden.
I don't know. Somebody must have went by the house.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry. I appreciate it. Thank you. Well, the dog was really getting teed off there for a minute. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll give the weather forecast right now by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, these are good people that really know all about hearing health and how to help you. Everybody's an individual. Everybody's hearing is, very, very pertinent to what happened in their life, what maybe their background was, etc. And hearing loss often happens so gradually. Well, don't let it slip away. You get a hold of them today. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka County Hospital, across from the emergency room. And the number to call, 312-0957. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Warming temperatures for today. We will see just a little bit of sunshine. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A high of about 47, a slight breeze out of the southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, then gradually clearing in the overnight hours with a low of about 26. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 49, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And thank you very much, Gina. I appreciate it. Excellent job. And when you talk about excellent job, that's exactly how you'll feel when you work with the folks at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids for your hearing health. Personalized treatment plans, you give them a call today. Please let them serve you. 312-0957, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. All right, come on, don't let me down. The phone lines are open. I want to fill them up. Give me a call, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about. This H.R. 1 that the Democrats are so proud of absolutely is stupid and frivolous, and it's going to cause so many problems with the voting in our country. The Democrats want to take over the voting so that the federal government has complete control, and we all need to fight that. As a matter of fact, I immediately after this program am going to call Joe Larson at the county clerk's office. Joe was on last fall prior to the election, and I'm going to have him come on and talk about the feds taking over the control of all elections. And they're so blatant in what they want to do, the Democrats. They want to forbid anybody at any polling place to ask or demand that you show an ID. No, they're saying no more showing an ID. All you have to do is just sign a sworn statement that you are who you are. What? I mean, here comes somebody that might be a mass serial bomber. Well, I'm so-and-so. Yep, that's me. Oh, come on. Are you going to get on an airplane that way? Are you going to go out and get a bank loan? No, you're not. I absolutely am adamant that this is absolutely a crime what the Democrats are doing to our voting and along with other things in our society. Everybody should pridefully stand there and pull out their ID and say, yes, my name is John Smith, and I'm an American citizen that's proud to vote. The only reason the Democrats want to do something as frivolously stupid as this is to rig the election the same as what happened in the last one. And I'm not going to change my mind on that. H.R. 1 is called For the People Act, and it's not. There will be no checks and balances, none, on our voting and who and what you are. It absolutely should be thrown in the garbage. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And then this Equality Act. I had somebody call me the other day, and they heard my remark, and they said, "What did you mean when girls' sports teams should start policing if transgender men are part of the team?" Well, I don't know how much more I could spell it out. I don't know how much more clear I can make it. But if we start developing a major problem with transgender men, and that's what they are, I'm not going to flower it up, and I'm not going to change the verbiage. These are guys that absolutely, instead of putting on a pair of Wranglers, they're going to put on their frilly little dress and try to get involved with women's sports and in the women's locker room. There are ways the girls can fix and solve the problem amongst themselves. And I'll just let it go at that. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We do not have, according to most Americans that live near or on our southern border, ranchers, farmers, we do not have a southern border anymore. It is gone, thanks to the idiocy and incompetency of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and this administration. It just is unbelievable to me, some of the horror stories that we're hearing right now, like Arizona rancher John Ladd was on TV this morning and said he's never seen it this bad before. They are coming over in droves across his property, tearing down the fences, the theft and the absolute desecration of the property and everything. And where is the United States of America to protect its citizens? Not around. But they're doing more for the illegals. This is unbelievable. And they're not just illegal aliens, and that's what they are, and I'll be damned if I'm going to change the verbiage. They're not just from Mexico, many of which are from Brazil, Cuba, Romania. And the scary part is, according to Arizona rancher John Ladd this morning, he's noticed and kept track of, along with his family, most of them are young males wearing camo coming in, between the ages of 20 to 30. That's kind of spooky, isn't it? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Want to take the time here for a moment, waiting for your call, to tell everybody about our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, it goes without saying that they are committed to offering you the best tire value in town. And right now, they are having a big, that means really huge, tire sale going on right now. I mean, all the tires, all the tread designs, all the sizes for all vehicles. I mean, a big spring tire sale. I urge you to get in there and see these good folks today. Now, don't forget, too, there's so many other amenities that you need to be aware of. The best in brake service, and of course the best in front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this. But they also provide the best in service to you. They want to take care of their customers. You stop in and see James and Buell, along with Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and my buddy Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Got time for one more call. One more call before we have to say adios for this first hour. Love to have you give us a jingle. While I'm waiting for your call, I want to remind you, too, April 1, Thursday, April 1, we are going to have the re-implementation and pull back the curtain and start them up again of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And, boy, I can't wait. I've missed seeing so many of our dear friends, and we want to fill that place up. That place, of course, being Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley, and put it down your calendar. It's not an April Fool's joke. It's for real, folks. Zeb's Lunch Bunch returns the 1st of April at Denny's Restaurant, and we're going to have a Mad Hatter's Award, the one that brings the wildest and whatever hat. We're going to have a special award along with a lot of door prizes, a lot of fun with great folks that work right there at Denny's serving you, and that's going to be Zeb's Lunch Bunch on April 1st. Not an April Fool joke. It's for real at 11:30. So we'll hope to see you there. What's coming up the rest of the day? I cannot wait for 9:06 this morning. We're going to talk to Dan Kish about the absolute incompetency and ridiculousness of Biden and their so-called energy program to go green, green, green. It's ridiculous, and it borders on stupidity. And then at 9:30, we're going to have a dear friend of ours, Representative Bert Stevenson, calling in, and we're going to be talking about dams and water and fish, etc. At 10:06 this morning, a little change. Dr. History is going to be doing the report on the phone instead of here in the studio. And then another thing I'm looking forward to this morning is the Idaho Legislative Update at 10:30, and we're going to have with us this morning Representative Linda Wright Hartkin from District 24B. So we've got a lot of things cooking for the rest of the morning on Zeb at the Ranch. Stay tuned, and we're going to send it over to Sean. We'll be back in about 7 minutes. Oh my, here we go. Not too bad a looking day outside. A little cloudy, but sunshine peeking through. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires and service. Along with our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, this good word for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is landing ahead, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, it's time to be thinking about, planting season pretty quick and springtime and porta potties. Yeah, I'm not kidding you. We got to consider all of this coming up real fast. And of course, that Western Waste Services provides the best in porta potty service for all the different events, all the situations, etc. They are always at your disposal. Call the number 734-6969. The best serving you, Western Waste Services. Absolutely. Want to also give a great big shout out. I don't know why people call me on my cell phone when I'm on the air. I haven't quite figured that out yet. Want to also give a great big shout out to Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation with my dear friends Nick Greenwell and Josh and the whole crew, Jeff, you name it. All these folks, really, really top-notch people, serving you and helping you get back to being you. That's right. Whether you're recouping from an accident or a surgery, whatever the case might be, they can help with the latest in exercises and also, of course, that hydrotherapy pool. Oh, my goodness. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. And Nick also, of course, as you know, the owner of Elite Fitness at 1200 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Stay fit, get fit. Absolutely. Elite Fitness and Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Quick note, too. Whoops, almost tipped over the whole apple cart here. That would have been interesting. Quick note about some other dear friends of ours that have been with us on this program for a long time, and that's Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family, and staff, serving you and your family. They're very appreciative of all the good folks right here in this neighborhood of Magic Valley, and they know that they're there to serve you and provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please remember Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Number to call, 436-5636. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Well, it goes without saying, And if you don't understand the problem that we're having right now, you must have been living under a rock, because since January, the Biden administration has done nothing but absolutely destroy the world's best energy program here in the United States. Point your finger only at one thing, and that's Biden and Harris and the evil that's involved in their administration to destroy a energy system that was the best in the world. And we're seeing gas and diesel escalate in price to the point where seniors on fixed incomes are really starting to get very, very nervous. With us right now is one of my dear friends, American Energy Alliance, Dan Kish. Dan, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, Zeb. Thank you, and I hope you are as well.
I am, and I thank the good Lord above for that. But in no way am I going to be silent. In no way am I going to climb off the saddle and go around the corner of the barn and sit there and shut up. I'm going to keep attacking this so-called administration for the lunacy that they're trying to do to the world's best energy system and put us in a very precarious, dangerous situation. Would you agree?
Yeah, Zeb, because it's only just begun. They have amazingly large plans for us, and what they're going to do to our way of life and our economy and everything else. And it's only now becoming clearer as some leaks begin to happen out of the White House. I guess, you know, we're all familiar with Earth Day, which happens to be Lenin's birthday, by the way, in April. And we can expect by that time for them to have rolled out just about all of these programs, which are going to commit the United States to a 50% reduction in carbon dioxide. And how we're going to do that is beyond anybody's imagination, but that's what they're going to do. And they're going to treat it as though it's a law, and they're going to go about making the changes in everything that we do in order to achieve that.
When you say some of the leaks are coming out, share with me some of the things that you have heard through your capacity working with energy every day. I mean, what are some of these heinous things they're going to spring on the American public so we can spit in their eye and try to fight back?
Right. Well, for example, under the Obama administration, they had something called the social cost of carbon, which went into figuring out the relative cost of regulation. So if, for example, if they were going to regulate tailpipe emissions for carbon dioxide, they had to have some measure for it. So they came up with a measure. The Trump administration had to go along with something, but they reduced it to about a third of that. The Biden administration is proposing to double what the Obama administration's proposal was, so that the equivalent of 50 cents a gallon of gas is the cost of carbon dioxide to all of us that comes out of tailpipes and out of exhaust pipes and that we breathe and all the rest. And it's pretty clear that a bunch of people, all backed by the billionaires whose names we know, Bloomberg, Hewlett, Rockefeller, have been working with states to largely far left states like California, Oregon, Washington, to in fact they've even got what I'll call mercenaries, people paid for by Bloomberg, for example, that work in the Attorney General's office of states, with all the powers of a government employee, but none of the public responsibilities that come with that, the ethics, need to share information, that sort of thing, with the public about what they're doing on the public's behalf, because they're not really working for the public. They're just in these offices being paid for by Michael Bloomberg out of New York City to basically sue people, come up with all kinds of new ideas about how to pursue, on behalf of these left-wing governors, these proposals. They're going to federalize that, bring it all to Washington, D.C., and do the same exact thing.
What power, and I mean this, Dan, because I think it's time. I don't care if you're 73, if you're 23, or if you're 43. What power is left for the American public to fight back and reclaim the value of the first three words of our Constitution, we the people? It looks like there is nothing that we can do on any subject that the government wants to put on us or lay upon us that we can do to fight back. Am I wrong?
Not necessarily, but I would say there are some things that haven't been tried yet. Under the Obama administration, these left-wing governors, or under the Trump administration, these left-wing governors were suing the federal government to, make them do things like that. We had governors that were standing up for the left wing of American politics and for these multilateral UN-based operations like the Paris Accords and the rest that Biden has signed us back up to. And this is going to have to come from the states. They're going to have to stand up and say, no, we're not going along with this. We're not putting up with this. You don't control us. The Constitution reserves all the powers that aren't specified in the Constitution for the states. And they have to do that. And so if there's a way to give a shot of courage to a governor of your state to stand up and defend the interests of his people that are being stomped on by people in Washington, D.C., New York, and Davos, Switzerland, that's what ought to happen. It's time for these people to earn their keep.
Yep. I will say this, and I don't know if you're aware of this story. It just happened over the last 48 hours. But Florida Attorney General, a lady by the name of Ashley Moody, has announced that she is suing the Biden administration over egregious immigration policies that she believes go against federal law and endanger the American citizenry. That's the kind of people you're talking about. I, as a matter of fact, after this program, am going to call our Attorney General up in Boise and ask if he's going to sign on to that lawsuit of making sure that Biden's stupid, frivolous, and absolutely amateur approach to immigration is going to be thwarted by various state attorney generals. This is what you're talking about. People that we have in the states better stand up, put their big boy pants on or their big girl dress on, and they better start fighting back.
Yeah, I mean, the point is, we've got to forget about Washington for a while here. I mean, we can't forget about it, but the point is, the people in Washington are going to do whatever they can get away with. And under our Constitution, the states have certain rights, and I would say responsibilities to their people and their citizens, and it's time for them to step up. In the Trump administration, they were suing left and right. The left-wing states, that's all they did was sue all the time. They sued on immigration. They sued on, you name it, on all kinds of things dealing with energy whenever they could. And they got judges to rule in their favor or at least slow down operations from going forward. The same thing's going to have to happen. The Attorney General of Texas has done similar things on the immigration front, and I expect will do so. It's time to, hang together or hang separately.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of states out there that have differing approaches and whose people have different worlds. They don't live in New York City where, having a car is a luxury. They need a vehicle to go to the hospital, to go to get groceries. they don't have things delivered to their door the way these people in urban areas do. The idea that somehow you're going to take this enormous, vast part of the country and cut off its energy supply or drive its costs so high that people can't afford it so that they have to live in poverty is not something that our state leaders ought to abide. And Americans sure shouldn't abide it.
Well, of course, I'm sure that you read about our own Idaho, and we're so proud of United States Representative Mike Simpson saying, oh, it's time to take out the dams. The stars have lined up, and now is the time. I tell you, I've never supported Mike Simpson, and I cannot stand him even more so than I did before.
I have heard about the removal of the dams. I would sure think that people in Idaho could use the $30-some billion that they're proposing it would cost to do so for something other than destroying something that provides carbon dioxide-free energy.
Amen.
But that's an internal fight. I'll let you all fight in Idaho.
Yeah, but actually it has repercussions and ramifications for the entire country. And
it sure does.
It does.
There have been, listen, hydropower is an amazing success in the United States. It's one of the reasons why particularly the northwestern states have such low electricity prices compared to other parts of the country. And it's a good thing. It also impounds water and allows it to be used for agriculture and allows transportation of bulk commodities to be done on rivers safely.
Yep.
And keeps land from flooding and all the rest. And from the environmental standpoint, anything that changes nature is bad.
Yeah.
When in reality, those of us know that the good Lord intended us to be good stewards, and if there was something that could be improved to better both the environment and humankind, that ought to be done, and certainly shouldn't be torn down.
Dan, I want to spend the last 8 minutes or so talking about agriculture, and I know you're very proficient in knowledge about ag, but we've got a call first. Caller, real quick, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Zeb, I'll say this again. Those dams, if they're taken out, that's a form of disarmament for this country. You've got the Boeing industry there in Seattle. You've got the aluminum industries that depend on that resource being refined and put to work for defense purposes. This thing's bigger than anybody understands.
Amen.
I'll listen in.
Amen. Thank you, Earl. I appreciate your comment. Thank you very much. Dan, over the last couple of weeks, I've done as much research as I can. Now, I'm going to make some statements here, and if you don't agree with me as a dear friend, go ahead and feel free to correct me. But I'm almost of the belief that this administration, especially with their hatred towards fossil fuels and the absolute arm twisting, everything's got to go green. I am very concerned about agriculture, the planting, the growth, and the harvesting of our crops. And we're talking about diesel prices that are escalating out of sight. As far as I know, there really isn't a concentrated push from any of the implement companies, whether it's John Deere, whether it's Massey Ferguson, I don't care who it is, to really talk about or have a switch over to battery-operated implements. And I'm almost thinking that this is a way by the Biden administration to do away with food production in this United States and put our food on an importation basis. Do you think I'm way out in left field eating popcorn?
The religion of environmentalism, and that's what it is, holds that there are already too many people on Earth. And to the degree that you make energy, food, minerals, food, and fiber and water, more expensive. People will consume less, have smaller families, and have less impact on God's creation, basically. They worship the creation rather than the creator, and they look for salvation in doing things like tearing down dams and driving up food prices. So no, I don't think you're far at all.
And really, we've talked about this, the efficiency, which that word does not apply at all to tractors and big transportation trucks and swathers and whatever kind of equipment. I can't even fathom if it takes a car, a little light car, Tesla, whatever, and you can only go 200 miles on that charge, and then you've got to take an hour to sit at some recharge station someplace reading a book or whatever, eating a bag of popcorn. And what's it going to be like for these huge tractors? Where's the horsepower going to come from? What about the dynamics of trying to get the crop in the field, or at harvest time get it out of the field? This isn't feasible at all.
No, I mean, it's nonsensical. These are all made up by people who live in areas that have no exposure whatsoever to agriculture, and or for that matter, any kind of real work that entails the use of horsepower. And when it comes to concentrated energy forms, you just can't beat liquid fuels, which is why they've won in the marketplace. What they're trying to do is change the market. They'll drive up the cost of energy so that people are forced to use other forms of energy, which are right now much more expensive and much more less reliable and much more less utilitarian, and drive towards that. But in the course of things, that makes food prices go up. That makes families, maybe we shouldn't have that third child. That's what it's all about, Zeb.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very anti-human thing. Those of us who kind of live in nature and with nature understand that we can live together. In fact, and both benefit. But what they're talking about is somehow not touching anything that is out there, and what that all means for us. It's become a religion. It's a theology.
Absolutely.
Frankly, using their logic under separation of church and state, their laws wouldn't be constitutional.
I will say this, I've said it before, and I will say it again, and I'll go toe-to-toe with anybody that argues this point, that if this great country, the United States of America, loses its ability to feed itself, and for that matter, the world, with the most efficient of agricultural programs ever on the face of the earth, and we become subservient to importing our food, we are done. I don't know what else we can say. The Gary Cooper response. Yep, I agree with you.
I tell you, Zeb, these are challenging times. It is a world gone mad. The only way to do it is to fight back locally.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. You've hit the nail on the head. I would love the opportunity to sit in an audience and be able to ask questions of Biden or Kamala Harris or the Secretary of Agriculture or anyone in this administration and absolutely demand that they give answers to these questions. But there hasn't even been a press conference from this administration and Joe Biden. This is lunacy.
Yeah, longest time in a century.
Yeah. Dan, I look forward to every Tuesday having you on the air. I've got to run right now. It goes too fast. But I wish you the very best, and please come back next week. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you, Zeb. God bless you and your audience.
My wonderful friend Dan Kish, thank you very much. I got to pay some bills, and then we're going to go to our next guest, a gentleman that I'm really anxious to have on the air. But first and foremost, I want to talk about our friends over at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Hello, Todd and the crew. How you doing? Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. They are so dedicated and devoted to serving you, your family, and your business. So please get a hold of them today. The number to call, 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance on Highway 24 in Rupert. Really, really good people. Quick note, too, that the Lunch Bunch is back. April 1st, absolutely, at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. They've got new additions to their already delicious menu, and let me just give you an instance on this. They've got a new dessert. It's called the Signature Skookie. That's right, Skookie for dessert. You want to know what it is? Warm chocolate chip cookie filled with molten chocolate and topped off with vanilla ice cream and salted caramel. Woo! I'll take two. Wow, it sounds good. Along with all the great breakfast, lunch, and dinner menu choices, you're going to love the people, love the food at America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. We're going to go to the phone line right now, and I say this with all the respect I can muster up. I just really appreciate what this man has done for the state of Idaho and his personality, his demeanor. He is a friend, and I'm so proud to call him my friend, former Representative Bert Stevenson. Good morning, sir.
How's Zeb Bell this morning?
Fat and sassy and on the fight.
Well, be careful when you start a fight. Be careful that you can win it.
Well, I don't care if I can win it or not. I'm just going to keep poking him in the nose because I don't like the politics of what's happening today, and I'm not going to weaken and back up from him.
Well, okay, we'll discuss that one. You probably know how I feel about this particular issue.
Well, I do, and then somewhat I don't. Bert, I'm afraid. I really am afraid, and I think that I've had numerous people call me and are very concerned as to why our United States Representative, Mike Simpson, would come out with I'm going to call it like I see it, a goofy statement and say, oh, the stars have aligned to do the dam breaching right now. I don't think that's at all smart. I don't think it's good for Idaho. I know it's not good for agriculture. You tell me your thoughts about dam breaching on the Snake.
Well, Zeb, I think you and I feel pretty much the same way about that. We've spent the last 30 or 40 years having this discussion of dam breaching, and the environmental community says that's the only way to save salmon, and we've spent millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, to try and solve the problem. I don't think this one is going to solve it, and the one thing that concerns me as much as anything about this, he says he doesn't know that this will save him.
That's right.
But why do we take out the dams? And I think one of the other really serious things, we can replace power. I don't question that. It'll be more expensive. But what about the people in Lewiston that depend on that Columbia River to bring the barges up all the way to Lewiston?
Right. You know, the human... let me ask...
It's an unfortunate thing that we've degenerated to this. I didn't think I would ever... You remember when we got the wolves delisted?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike is saying all along here that this one will do away with the lawsuits. It didn't do away with the lawsuits when we delisted the wolves, so I'll tell you that one thing. We continue to have lawsuit after lawsuit. People think the wolves have a right here rather than us. That having been said, I've listened to two different, one with the Idaho water users and one with the food producers of Idaho, and there's several things on there that I would like to know how we're gonna what we're gonna do.
I guess where I'm coming from, Bert, is that I look at humanity. I look at moms and dads, and they're trying to feed their families. And then you have everybody say, like from John Kerry and the Biden administration, let them go build solar panels. Or we have Mike Simpson and the people that want to take out the dams. We'll let those people retrain for other jobs. Jobs and retraining and careers are not that easy so that you get up one day and you say, I'm leaving this and I'm going to go to another. I am sick and tired of taking the humanity out of issues that absolutely put fish over people. I can't do that, and I won't.
Well, if what Mike Simpson says he doesn't know that this will save it, then why are we taking the dams out?
That's right.
If he doesn't know, I think we ought to have a little more assurance of that than what we've been getting.
Well, Bert, let me ask you.
I don't have a lot of sympathy for the state of Washington and Oregon. And let me tell you why. We've been sending 487 thousand acre feet of water down to flush salmon every year. And Washington hasn't done a damn thing about helping to flush those salmon out. In fact, probably what Washington does is a negative.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So that's kind of where I'm at, and I don't know whether I want somebody to assure me that if this goes through, we don't have to send 487,000 acre feet of water down the river every year.
Absolutely. But there's another problem here, and caller, stay on the line. I'm going to talk to Bert about this first and then come right back to you. There's another problem with the saving the salmon that nobody seems to have an answer for, and they gloss over. What about the natural predators to the salmon? How is that going to be legislated or handled? Who's going to handle that? They don't address these things.
Well, Zeb, they put the salmon, they delisted the salmon, they listed the salmon, not delisted, they listed the salmon, and then they come along several years later and list the orcas. Now tell me that makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah. Nothing that's going on right now today makes a lot of sense, but absolutely getting rid of a very efficient hydropower initiative that's worked for the Northwest and putting it in limbo to breach the dams and say, here, now you got a mess, fix it. That makes no sense to me. Bert, we've got a caller with a question. Quickly, caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Well, this is what Mr. Simpson said. It would only cost to do all this and take care of everybody was going to cost $33.5 billion, which is nothing. That's nothing. $33.5 billion is nothing. And he doesn't explain how he's going to regain the energy, from the hydroelectric dams, which is cleanest energy on planet Earth. And the world loves our hydroelectric dams, except for the environmentalists in America. And so if General Motors starts building nothing but electric cars in 15 years, where the hell is the energy going to come from? And there's so much more to this. Mr. Simpson is obviously either willing to be, maybe he's going to retire, which is what he ought to do. We can't seem to vote him out. I'll hang up.
Bert, respond to the caller and that $33 billion. Please, go ahead.
Zeb, we talk about billions of dollars like it was a $10 bill, and I cannot believe that. And how are they gonna do that with as far as the barging and that's concerned?
Yeah.
They're not going to do it. They're going to have to build railroads and all of those things. The caller is 100% correct.
Bert, let me ask you this, and you've been a farmer all your life, and I have the utmost respect for what you've done and what you've accomplished. But how in the world can you, with a straight face, how can Simpson or anybody say that it'd be more efficient to put at least 370 more trucks per hauling grain to Portland versus that same amount of trucks could be loaded on a barge and be so much more efficient and so much more environmentally friendly? I don't understand where these people are coming from.
Well, and I agree with you. That's only the small part of it. It's the other that's got to come up the river the other way. Is good. I've been involved in over the years, listening to studies on taking the dams out and what we ought to do. And I agree with Simpson. There's no guarantee, because when they breach those dams and the silt starts going down the river, that may totally eliminate the salmon.
Oh my. Oh, I never thought of that either. That's right. We have a caller with another question. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, it's more of a comment, Zeb. You guys aren't looking at the whole picture. He breaches them dams, then he can pander to Pelosi in California and ship our water to California, and we won't have the water. He's already given it away.
I'll have Bert respond to that. Go ahead, Bert.
Well, I don't know that California is going to get the water, because there's legislation in place that they can't send it to California until the legislature approves it. However, we never know what the legislature is going to do. I'd have never believed we'd have been having this discussion on breaching the dams. I'd have never believed that was possible.
Bert, where is it right now today? I mean, I'm going to continue to condemn and use the word damn Mike Simpson's, I think, erroneous statements about breaching the dams, but where is it? Who's picking it up? Who absolutely is trying to move the goalposts and move the ball forward to the goalpost? What's happening day by day since he made this statement?
Well, Zeb, the only people that I've seen that is supporting this at all is the environmental community, and I will agree with them that there is money to be made with salmon and steelhead runs along the above the 4 dams. I can appreciate that, but I can tell you that I've never seen any studies that show that breaching the dams will solve the problem.
Well, along with the environmentalists, though, and correct me if I'm wrong, the other groups, if you will, that are probably applauding the dam breaching would be the Indian tribes. And I find that to be really a stick in the mud right there, because they go and they get whatever they want out of the river, and they stack, like Steve Hartkin wrote in an article, they stack up the salmon like cordwood on the side of the road, much of which is left to waste and rot in the sunshine. There's got to be a concentrated from everybody to try to save the salmon, not just destroy the dams, the hydroelectric part of it, the farming, etc. Humans have got to have a viewpoint of helping other humans, and I don't see it with the breaching of the dams.
Well, Zeb, that's the other thing that irritates me quite a lot, is the fact that the amount of money that's in his projected program for the tribes. They've had pretty near carte blanche of their run of the salmon. And then you mentioned earlier the orcas and all of the predators that eat those salmon all the way from the ocean up to the end of these dams.
Mm-hmm.
And it isn't the dams that's going to solve the problem. Taking out the dams, it's a really serious thing. I guess that one of the things that I'm really grateful for. I've enjoyed 85 years on this, and I don't suppose I've got another 10 years. And so by the time they get around to taking those dams out, it'll be my grandkids that have to pay for it.
But the thing is, to me, it has been so efficient, the way it's been run, and the way it's provided power, and the way that it's helped agriculture. And you know, as a farmer, that if we have to revert back to transportation by truck and rail, the costs are going to skyrocket. And once again, farmers and ranchers are going to take a lot less for their product.
Zeb, and in as much as we're not going to be able to use fossil fuels, that's going to skyrocket those costs.
Do you think feasibly that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, yep, it's a slam dunk, 1 being kind of iffy, where are we on this possibility of breaching the dams and Mike Simpson and his statements to the press?
Well, Zeb, I question that it will happen, but I don't know that is. I would have never thought Simpson would have come up with this kind of a harebrained idea. I don't know if you read the op-ed in Friday's paper from the former praising Simpson, the former Attorney General.
Yes.
And I've been a little disappointed in several of his op-eds in the last few months.
Well, I have it. I'm trying to find it as I speak, as a matter of fact. But I just don't understand why people and their needs are not more important than fish. Yes, fish are important. But when we start talking about families and being unemployed and starting new careers in a time where COVID has just absolutely destroyed the fabric of America and many people are holding their families together with a thread, I just can't understand why we'd come out with stupid things like saying the stars are lined up right now and we better breach the dams. I just don't understand.
Well, they're looking at a different set of stars than I am, Zeb, and you and I know that. The people that have come out against that is the grain growers have opposed it. The transportation department, or the Port of Lewiston has come out opposing it. The Idaho water users have a resolution opposing it. And so I think that I don't think it's a slam dunk, but I didn't ever think Biden would get in either.
You know, I want to ask you one last question, Bert, while I have the opportunity to have you on my program. You spent your life in agriculture and in politics as a state representative. And very seriously, I ask this question. Have you, in all your years of politics, seen anything like this administration in less than 2 months totally tear apart the fabric and morality of America? Have you ever seen anything like this?
Zeb, I haven't, nor did I think it would ever happen this fast. I didn't think Biden would spend the first 2 weeks of his administration undoing everything that Trump had done. And people on both sides agree that what Trump did. People didn't vote for Biden. They voted against Trump.
That's right.
Because they didn't like his Twitters and some of those things. But let me tell you, before this is all over with, they're going to wish that they had him back.
Well, that leads me to the last part of a question, though. We're looking at 2022, the midterms, and I'll say this, and again, you're much more experienced in politics than I am, but I'll say that in 2022, this whole thing that Biden and Harris and the rest of the Obama third-term people are trying to do, this whole thing could end up in their lap, and it could be overturned with an outlandish uproar from the American people in 2022. Do you agree or disagree?
Zeb, I would have agreed with you, but I'm not sure we'll now. And the reason I say that is we have more young voters that really like the free gifts that they're getting.
Yeah.
And I am concerned that we've raised a bunch of kids that think they need to have everything given to them. It's not a sin to have to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Bert, having you on the program is always a plus. And to you and your lovely wife, Elaine, you know I have the highest respect for you both. God bless you, former representative for the state of Idaho, Bert Stevenson. Thank you for being on the program this morning.
Well, Zeb, I hope we've at least give people something to think about.
Well,
thank you for the privilege.
Very, very welcome, my dear friend. Take care and the best of everything to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you. I am very fortunate to have that man as a friend. I mean, I've sat, and my lovely wife and I have sat and visited with he and Elaine, and boy, into every life you should meet and get to know a person like Bert Stevenson. He is A+. Thank you. Right now I want to get the weather on. I'm only a few minutes late this hour, and the weather brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. You know what? I can say this because it's firsthand information. They care about how they treat their clients. Yesterday, I had 2 or 3 phone calls from Leiden Crane, and absolutely helping me and my situation. And they do it for their clients. They are the professionals. And I hope they hear me say this, because I am extremely high on what they do, providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area and beyond for over 50 years. They are, up to the name, the professionals. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. The best of tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, the list goes on and on. They are the best. Offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Warming temperatures for today. We will see just a little bit of sunshine. Here's what's your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A high of about 47, a slight breeze out of the southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, then gradually clearing in the overnight hours with a low of about 26. Tomorrow, mostly sunny skies with a high of 49, partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Appreciate it, Gina. Thank you very much. And the weather, of course, brought to you by Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And yep, they're the best. They are the professionals, with offices at 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Get a hold of them today. Phillips Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Caller, real quick. I've got about 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Well, Zeb, there's a lot to this thing with Simpson. I've read it, and but there's so much to it, you got to reread it to remember it. I don't know what's motivating him, but I guarantee you the governors of Washington and Oregon, and the pressure is being mounted against Simpson, but Simpson is no friend of Idaho. And I'm going to say this one more time. I've described this once before. And there was a board of men who went from Idaho, who went to see Mr. Mike Simpson at his office in D.C. And this was the description that was given to me firsthand. This gentleman was in the office. Mike Simpson walked in. He hadn't shaved. He was wearing shorts. He was there to meet them and give them respect because this board is a very important company to Southern Idaho, extremely important. Mike Simpson walked in. He was unkempt, and he didn't know a thing about what they were there for. He had to ask the aide everything that was said. And I'm going to tell you, this guy couldn't care less about Idaho. And he gets by, and he probably personally doesn't even involve himself much. He might vote conservative because in some respects maybe he's got nothing to lose, but he's obviously stuck his neck out here for some reason. And I guarantee you China is pulling the strings on so many of our elected officials in D.C. that it probably would frighten the hell out of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Randy, a lot of your comments that you come on the air with, I take with a grain of salt until I prove them or look at them for their content and the context. But 99% of the time, I agree with you in the end. And thank you very much for your call this morning. I appreciate that.
Bye.
Thank you. Caller, hang on. I'll try to find some time. I'm getting close to the end of the hour. Don't forget Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. When it comes to electronics and it comes to knowing about electronics and all the different products, and you want to work with people that absolutely have the knowledge and the low prices, you better get over to Patterson's Electronics. 421 East Main in Burley. All the home theater systems, all the video surveillance cameras, all the car stereos and speakers, all the complete sound systems and TVs, it's all there at Patterson's Electronics. Curtis and Lorena, they specialize in knowledge of their products, and they can help you. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. I urge you to stop in and see them today. Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley, and like I said, they're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and the number is 678-6997. Caller, I am sorry. I'm flat out of time for this hour. And I want to remind everybody, stay tuned. In about 7 minutes, we're going to have Dr. History on the air. He's going to be doing it via the phone this morning. And then at 10:30 this morning, the Idaho Legislative Update. We'll be back in 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. Last hour on this Tuesday, March the 9th. And, of course, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with the best in tires and, of course, service. Don't forget, too, our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to take just a moment and give a great big shout out to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. I've got to get a hold of old Jeff, and we got to get him back on the air so we can visit a little bit. I'll tell you, 459 Overland location in Burley for the best of all your furniture, all your floor coverings, everything you need for the beautification and comfortization of your home. And they've got a great sale going on right now for mattresses in stock so that you can enjoy a good night's sleep. 40% off on the window coverings. They've got all the floor coverings, carpet, tile, luxury vinyl, everything for you. Stop in and talk to the very knowledgeable staff serving you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturdays, 10 to 4. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. By the way, I've said this 1,000 times, and, oh, man, I envy this man's ability. I envy his musical talent, and that's Marcus Meeks. Oh, my goodness, at 1459 Conant Avenue in Burley. You got to get the right address on because that's where he resides and gives his guitar lessons. And let me tell you, he can teach all styles of guitar, every style. This man is a musical genius, and I urge you to give him a call. call and sign up for those lessons. He took a little hiatus away from music and guitar lessons, but he's back, and I'll guarantee you we're all the better for it. Give him a call, 312-9093, and that's Marcus Meeks Guitar. Give him a call, 312-9093. Boy, get a hold of him for guitar lessons and enjoy the music. He's also available for dinners and banquets. Marcus Meeks, 312-9093. It is time to go to the phone line, and we're doing things a little bit different this morning, and our thoughts and prayers go out to his wife and hope all is well with her. And here's Dr. History. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Zab. Doing good. How are you doing?
Good. We're going to have to ask you to speak up quite a bit. I think you're on your cell phone, and please speak up as much as you can. I appreciate it.
Okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yes, somewhat. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll try to talk loud. So today, well, first of all, I want to say hi to Austin, who has suggested that I do a show on music in the Old West. So I'm going to look into that and see about doing a show on music in the Old West.
Okay.
So this month, since 1987, March has been what they call Women's History Month. And it's dedicated to take a look at sometimes often overlooked contributions of women to United States history. So today I'm going to tell you about a lesser-known woman that I'm going to bet very few people have heard about. She's a Native American woman, and we're going to go up to northern Idaho to Coeur d'Alene. And we're going to start about the year 1825.
Okay.
Now, are you hearing me okay, Zeb?
Yeah, we're not going to be able to converse back and forth because of feedback problems that I have on the line, and I'm just going to turn it over to you. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to tell you the story of a woman they call the Angel of the Coeur d'Alenes. So I want you to picture this. There were war cries echoed throughout the hills, warning of the approach of an enemy tribe. The peaceful Coeur d'Alene encampment was suddenly under attack by avenging warriors from the Spokane tribe. Now, the Spokanes charged the Coeur d'Alenes. They encircled them with a lot more numbers, and they were prepared for battle. Now, seeing her tribe outnumbered and realizing her people had no chance to survive this surprise attack, Louise ran to her teepee and grabbed a large wooden cross that she kept there. Holding the cross above her head, this pious woman marched through the encampment, begging her people to follow her. The parade of chanting Coeur d'Alenes, led by Louise, marched straight at their enemies. Now, the Spokane warriors could not believe what they were seeing. The sight of this woman bearing a cross, they were just dumbfounded. But it filled them with fear and amazement. And the men actually laid down their weapons, they retreated quickly, and they vowed never again to challenge the Coeur d'Alenes. Now, legend has it that this pious 19th century Joan of Arc actually saved her tribe from certain death with her bravery and her unwavering Christian faith on more than one occasion. Now, later, a Nez Perce war chief sent an envoy by canoe across Lake Coeur d'Alene to challenge her tribe into battle. Well, the people turned to Louise, and she was a respected tribal leader for their response. She sent word back to the Nez Perce chief that her people were Christians, not warriors. And if the Nez Perce stayed on their side of the lake, the Coeur d'Alenes would not fight them. But if they approached, they would all be killed. Well, the Nez Perce chief took his war party and left. So evidently this woman had a lot of persuasion and influence. Now, although there's no way to verify these legends have been passed along through the years, Stories state that Coeur d'Alene chiefs respected Louise, and her Indian name was Suhuing, Louise Suhuing. But they respected her for her wisdom and her bravery, and they sought her counsel after that. And Louise's intervention prevented a lot of bloodshed between the Coeur d'Alenes and neighboring tribes. Louise held a position of great respect as the sister of the head chief, whose name was Stelam. And he was kind of an iron-willed ruler, and a lot of the early priests found it difficult to work with him. So Louise often acted as an intermediary on her brother's behalf, which may have been the root of some of these stories. So Louise was born in 1800. She was the daughter of a chief of the Coeur d'Alenes. They called themselves, the Coeur d'Alenes, the Shitsu-Umsh. But early French fur trappers found the people to be shrewd traders. They were sharp, hard-hearted like needles, and so they called the tribe Coeur d'Alene, which meant, quote, heart of the needle or all. So the chief's daughter was given the name Suhuim, which translates to tranquil waters in the language of her people. So Louise Suhuim was married when she was a teenager to a member of the Spokane tribe, a man by the name of Palotkin. Now, the couple raised 3 sons. When her husband became crippled, Louise took on the role of provider for the family, as well as nursing her invalid husband. Now, Louise Suhuim's grandfather was the great chief Circling Raven, and he had dreamed of a visit by 2 black-robed angels who descended from heaven to teach his people of a great spirit. Well, this vision was passed on by Chief Circling Raven to his children and grandchildren. In April of 1842, Jesuit priest Father Pierre Jean de Smet, and we've heard of him before, he was considered the St. Paul of the West. Well, he arrived among the Coeur d'Alene tribe, and Father de Smet was the superior of the Rocky Mountain missions when he met 3 Coeur d'Alene families who had traveled east on a buffalo hunt. Now, the families had their children baptized by the priest and urged him to visit their tribe. So Father de Smet was welcomed by the Coeur d'Alenes, but none received him so well and joyously as Louise Suhuim and her husband, who saw him as the fulfillment of her grandfather's prophecy. Now, Father de Smet described his initial impression of Louise Suhuim. Here's what he said. Before her baptism, even, she was remarkable for her rare modesty and reserve, great gentleness, and solid judgment. Her words were everywhere listened to with admiration and pleasure, and her company sought in all families. Now, Louise Suhuim and Palotkin, her husband, were among the first of their people to be baptized. At his baptism, her husband, Palotkin, took the name Adolf, and Suhuim took the name Louise, which meant, quote, defender of the people. Well, the priest sanctified the union of Adolf and Louise in the eyes of the church by performing an official marriage ceremony. And Father de Smet described her this way. He said, she was enlightened by a special grace. And Father de Smet said Louise used her influence to induce many Indian families to follow her to the banks of Coeur d'Alene to hear the priest preach the law of God. After her baptism, Louise renounced all material wealth and pledged devotion to the priest. And here's what she said, quote, I will follow the black gowns to the end of the world. I wish to profit by their presence and their instructions to learn to know the Great Spirit well, to serve him faithfully, and to love him with all my heart. Zeb, are you trying to say something? I think I hear you.
No, absolutely. I'm infatuated with your story this morning. And, Sean, there's a little feedback here, if you could help us, about this wonderful woman. And how did they base a lot of this historical story? I mean, where did they find out all the facts about this story?
I tried to find more information, and this woman, in my opinion, has kind of been lost to history. And so I have a book that is entitled Wise Women, From Pocahontas to Sarah Winnemucca, and it says Remarkable Stories of Native American Trailblazers. And we've talked about Pocahontas and Sacagawea and many of the others, but this is one that I'm going to bet has been somewhat lost in history. And so that's why I'm kind of excited to tell her story.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll continue. In 1843, the Jesuits built a mission on the banks of the St. Joe River near the southern end of Lake Coeur d'Alene. Now, during construction of St. Joseph Mission, Louise moved her family onto the grounds to be near the missionaries and what she called the Lodge of the Lord. Now, Father Point became the mission superior. He was succeeded by Father Josette in 1845. Now, the Coeur d'Alene mission was Father Joseph Josette's favorite mission, and even after being appointed superior of the missions of the Northwest, Father Josette chose to remain with the Coeur d'Alene people, making his headquarters on their land. Now, while still caring for the needs of her invalid husband and children, this frail woman, who was often actually in delicate health herself, spent all available time receiving instruction from the priest and sharing her knowledge and enthusiasm with other members of her tribe. Now, the priest struggled with the Coeur d'Alene language. Father DeSmit had a hard time comprehending and speaking even after years of working with them. So Louise offered the missionaries help in translating and teaching her people, and she was given the position of head teacher of the catechism and devoted herself to religious instruction, so she became known as a great teacher. Now, in addition to teaching, Louise took the position of defender of her religion. She was often at odds with the medicine men, as you can imagine, of her tribe. They feared the loss of their own power, and they tried to disrupt the work of the missionaries. And frequently putting her own safety in jeopardy, Louise tirelessly worked to oppose the powerful medicine men. She actually intruded upon them, entering into their lodges uninvited in order to lecture them. Now, that took a lot of courage. You just didn't walk in to the medicine men lodges. Now, one of the leaders of the medicine men was a man by the name of Metatkin. And he was a relative of Louise, and he resisted staunchly Louise's teaching. Well, Louise persevered, however, until she finally led Metatkin and his wife and children directly to the priest to receive the sacrament of regeneration. Metatkin took the Christian name of Isidore and became one of the most zealous members of the church. And he was actually responsible for converting a lot of the followers to Christianity. Now, Louise also sought to ensure that once converted, her tribesmen did not revert back to their old practices like gambling. One of the chiefs had been baptized. He became consumed by an addiction to gambling after his conversion. So when Louise found out about it, she walked for 2 days to find the chief and return him back to his tribal duties. And it was contrary, though, for an Indian man to publicly accept criticism from a woman. That this guy renounced his habit, he repented, and changed his ways. So this gentlewoman harbored a special love for the children of the tribe, especially young girls. Father DeSmit wrote of her among the children. Here's what he said. By her motherly vigilance over the behavior of her children, by the simple and persuasive gentleness with which she treated them on all occasions, Louise had inspired them with the most profound respect and entire confidence that a single word from her lips of their good mother was an absolute order, a law for them, which they accomplished with eagerness and joy. Now, it was not uncommon for Louise to take in children who nobody else wanted. She took in a couple of kids that had disabilities. One was blind, unruly, disruptive, and unfortunately the two children that she adopted died early in age. Now, Louise's lodge became a shelter for young girls in need of counsel. She eagerly took them under her wing, offering guidance and instruction. And in recognition of her endless work with children, she became known among her tribesmen as, quote, the good grandmother. Now, this Good Samaritan was also an accomplished healer. There was a Father Gazzoli who said that he never arrived to administer to a sick or injured person that Louise was not already there ahead of him. She devoted herself to nursing the sick and the dying, no matter what time of day or night that she was called. She just was an amazing woman, totally dedicated. Now, although Father DeSmit had intended for the St. Joseph Mission to be a permanent settlement, the yearly spring flooding on the St. Joe River caused problems with the mission's crops, so Father Josette decided to build another mission, which was started in 1848 on the banks of the Coeur d'Alene River, about 12 miles east of the lake, about 12 miles east of the now city of Coeur d'Alene. Now, the new mission was designed by a guy by the name of Father Ravalli, who had visions of a nice, elegant church and a grand mission, and using crude tools and makeshift supplies, the Jesuits and the Coeur d'Alene people set out to build this magnificent mission, a labor that was actually to take them 5 years. Now, Louise's leadership again provided invaluable to the priests when she convinced the tribal members to devote their labor to the construction of this new mission. Now, a building of lodges was not seen as traditional work for the Indian men. They figured that was women's work. Well, Louise offered high praise to those who labored on the project and criticized those who refused to work. Well, this ended up with more than 300 of the tribal members participating in building the construction. Now, this natural leader showed a lot of managerial skills in organizing the labor of her people. Women and children were placed on teams and assigned duties like cutting straw, mixing mortar, carrying water, and weaving grass mats. Now, amazing, Zeb, this was all built without nails. The church had a framework formed from giant timbers connected by willow bars and woven grass and plastered with adobe, which formed walls a foot thick. Now, the facade was later sided with wooden planks, but through the devotion and labor of Louise and her Coeur d'Alene people, the mission of the Sacred Heart was finished in 1853, and it still stands near Cataldo, Idaho. Now, in 1853, Louise became bedridden by illness, said to be actually tuberculosis, and that summer she called upon Father Gazzoli to administer her last rites. On her deathbed, she asked her husband Adolf not to return to the home of his people, where there were no priests, that she wanted her children to live spiritually rich lives, and for those around her to join in one last hymn. And before the song was finished, Louise passed away.
Oh, my.
And Father DeSmit, in his writings, wrote, quote, "The cry was taken up and echoed in the valley and the foot of the high mountains which encircle the residence of the Sacred Heart." Now, Louise was buried in a plain coffin built by her youngest son and placed in a grave by her children with a prayer and a personal farewell. Each person in attendance at her funeral threw a handful of dirt onto the coffin. Her service was performed by this Father Gazzoli, who believed Suhim Louise to be, quote, the spiritual directress, the guardian angel of her whole tribe. And on August 15th of each year, the Coeur d'Alene tribe members make a pilgrimage to the old mission in memory of the good grandmother and the coming of the black robes. Now, today really no one knows exactly where on the mission grounds her grave lies, but in 1985, Louise's great-granddaughter, Blanche Lessart, and Father Tom Connolly had a monument placed at the old mission to honor Louise. Now, the Sacred Heart Mission, now called the Cataldo Mission or Old Mission, is actually the oldest standing building in Idaho. And in 1975, the mission became an Idaho state park, officially titled Old Mission State Park, and it's a lasting monument to Louise, Suhim, and her people. As I've been up there, I have a daughter that lives in Coeur d'Alene, and we've made the drive out there to the Cataldo Mission, and I would strongly encourage anybody that's up that direction to take the little drive out there east of Coeur d'Alene and visit the mission. There's a museum and the church and some beautiful grounds.
Absolutely. Well, Doctor, we are basically out of time for this morning, and we have a caller, but it's much too late in the half hour to get the caller on. I apologize for that. But real quick, you did have a caller that said something about having a segment on music. I'm wondering, are you going to do it on the various instruments? Are you going to do it on the actual songs that were written? What are you going to do quickly? I've got 30 seconds left.
You know, I'm not sure what I will do. I'll have to look up some information on that. But since this month is Women's History Month, I'm thinking of trying to do the next 2 weeks on more of the lesser-known Native American women that probably somewhat forgotten in our history of the Old West.
I'll look forward to it as always. And the best to you and your wife. I hope everything is well, and we'll look forward to having you back in the studio this next week.
You have a good day, Zeb. Thank you.
All right, Dr. History, right here on Zeb at the Ranch. Thank you very, very much. Want to remind everybody about Anthony and Save on Shells. You know where they are, 1827 Overland Avenue in Burley. You can't miss them. I mean, when you're driving down Overland and all of a sudden you see camper shell after camper shell after camper shell, he's got over 90 camper shells in stock. But if he has not just the one that'll match your paint job or for your pickup, you can order them right now. Get in there and talk to him before the heavy season of camper shells begins. Don't forget, they have the ARE shells, which are the greatest on the market today. How do I know that? I own one on my pickup. Save on Shells, 1827 Overland and Burley. Anthony, and the number to call, 312-1525. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. We'll be coming back with the Idaho Legislative Update in just a few moments.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you very much, and welcome back to our last half hour. And it's time for the Idaho Legislative Update. And, of course, brought to you by Handy Truck Lines. We really want to say a big thank you to Clay Handy and all the staff at Handy Truck Lines at 400 West, 100 South of Paul. They've been established since 1928 and serving all the Northwest. We are very happy to have them as the major sponsor, a very dependable, honest carrier that's helping with all the distribution of goods and services to the Northwest. Handy Truck Lines in Paul. Thank you very much. Right now with us this morning is a representative for the state of Idaho that I've known and had on this program in the past, and look forward to her remarks this morning. Linda Wright-Hartgen, how are you from District 24B? Linda, good to have you on the program.
Be here, and I look forward to it. I hope that we can answer any questions or, do whatever it is you want to talk about here.
Well, let's do it this way, Linda. What committees are you assigned to, and what are the various issues that at this legislative session have been the most prominent for you to work on?
Well, I serve on Rev and Tax, which is a new committee for me this year, and so that's kind of a learning curve, and that's had lots of interesting things that I know the public is interested in as far as tax cuts and changes in any of the tax laws, and we still have things being introduced right now. And I think the public will be interested and pleased with some of the tax bills that are coming forward this year. Next, I'm on Judiciary and Rules Administration, which I vice chair, and that obviously deals with all the different laws that would be set that would go to court or whatever. And we've seen quite a few things in that, one of them being the latest version of the targeted ticketing, or doxing, which was a new term for me. When you send out someone's address and say, let's meet at their house at this address at 4 to pick at them. Those bills will be coming up on the floor today or tomorrow. They're on the third reading right now. And finally, I'm on Energy, Environment, and Technology, which one of our big deals is broadband. Trying to get it to where the whole state has adequate broadband. So those are my committees and the high points of things that I personally work on. But obviously, there's lots of bills out there that are of interest to your audiences, especially the ag committees, which I'm not on, but I do know of several of their bills.
Well, Linda, let me ask you this. You mentioned the doxing, and we're looking at a cancel culture in this United States that is absolutely like a mafia. They're out trying to do and get away with anything they can to eliminate people that are doing various jobs, or they're trying to stop various things that can be purchased or read. Give us a little explanation about the doxing. I want to hear it from you as to what you're involved in. Go ahead and explain that.
Well, the newest version of the targeting bill was a doxing bill, which was a term that was new to me. And obviously, when you go on, you see on social media where they'll say, well, let's go to Linda Hartkin's home at 423, Fox Avenue, Twin Falls, and picket her this afternoon. Well, that, one, I don't think anybody should go to my personal home and picket. They can find me at the Capitol. They can find me, lots of places. But my home is my castle. And so that would, this bill says that it would be a misdemeanor if you advertise my address. You can still go there and picket. You just can't advertise my address on the website or on social media. And we've had lots of pushback on that, but also lots of pro comments as well. So it'll be interesting to hear the debate on the floor with that. You're so right. The cancel culture, it could drive me crazy. Tearing down our history and the statues, that how do we learn from our history if it's all gone? How do our children know what has come before us? And I think those things need to be there. I don't think we should be tearing them down. I don't think we should be, quite frankly, changing the names of mascots seems a little overkill to me as well.
How do we stop this?
I think
Linda, I don't mean to interrupt you, but you made such an excellent point there. I need to insert, how do we stop this? I am absolutely livid that the left and the loons that represent the left, they can go on someone's property, they can picket them, they can yell at them and scream at them, like the husband and wife back in St. Louis, and they were scared to death as 150 people came onto their personal property, and the wife ran in the house and got 2 weapons so they could protect themselves. They actually thought these ne'er-do-wells were going to try to break right into their property and do bodily harm to them. I mean, this thing is completely out of hand.
Well, you're right. It's out of hand. I mean, in Idaho, we'd had every right to have the weapon because of our stand your ground and castle doctrine. But back where these people were, they're the ones who got in trouble.
Yeah.
And so it seems... I don't know. I find that just it is over the top, Deb. And I want my family, I want my grandchildren to know their history, good, bad, or indifferent. They need to know it so it's not repeated.
Well, whether it's Sacagawea or whether it's Lewis and Clark or whether it has anything to do with past presidents, the father of our country, George Washington to Abraham Lincoln to whomever, it seems like they get away without any retribution in the cancel culture of burning and looting and destroying. How do we as citizens stop this? Are there laws in place within our state that if these worthless foes come out and try to destroy this property or these statues, is there some implementation of law that we can put them behind bars?
Well, interestingly, we did pass a bill in the House. I'm not sure where it's at in the Senate, but the bill was actually, I think it's being amended in the Senate to where if you have any statue on a state property, you cannot move that statute without coming to the legislature and asking permission, and then it has to have a certain percentage vote. So that people can't just do that. They can't just take down statutes that have been there forever. The bill originally had streets and things that you couldn't change the names of streets. That seemed to be too onerous to have to come to the legislature all the time, because street names change often, not necessarily just because they want to get rid of the name Washington or something like that. But yes, that bill is in the Senate right now, and it's a good bill.
You know, Linda, when you look at our society today and you look at what's going on nationwide, especially in the last 45 days since this, if you want to call it, an administration led by Biden and Harris, I have never, and I've mentioned this to a couple of my previous guests this morning, I've never seen such a transition against American values and morality as we've seen in the last 40 days. As a state representative, what are your thoughts?
Well, I guess I would have to agree. It's kind of like in 45 days, they've tried to erase the last 4 years, the progress that we've made in regulations and everything else. And and you're right, it does not seem very American. It's not the America that I'm used to, or that I love, or that I want my children to grow up in. And so I'm hoping, you know, I guess I feel a little stymied with the federal government simply because they're in the majority all the way around right now. And so I guess we just have to hold our state really strong right now and hope that some of these people on the other side will have a little bit of a conscience.
You mentioned that you're also on the Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee. And I got to tell you something, Linda, there's nothing right now that's on my table of different issues that I'm concerned about more than energy. We are being held to a green energy kind of takeover, if you will, all over the United States, and a depletion of fossil fuels. My biggest concern, and I know this is part of your committee, my biggest concern is that are people thinking at all about how they're going to replace the green energy when it comes to agriculture, which needs the fossil fuels from the planting all the way to harvest? What's being done to consider this?
You know, I don't know that they're thinking that in the federal government. I have not heard a lot about the fossil fuel as far as agriculture. What we are really pushing is the fact that our hydropower is very green. It's very good. You know, they'd like to consider it not being green as well, which I find absurd. You know, we have all of our hydropower in Idaho is very inexpensive. We have an abundance of it, but we have an abundance of the fossil fuels as well and the natural gas. I do think they probably will be looking at better ways to use the natural gas. I mean, we have such an abundance of it in our nation, and shutting down those pipelines, I hope that comes out to our favor when it hits the court.
You know, Linda, agriculture in the Northwest, and I don't have to tell you this because you've been involved in agriculture almost all of your life, but when you start talking about taking down the dams, like Representative Mike Simpson said, and going back to an archaic method of trying to take an additional 370-plus semis that equal one barge of grain going to Portland, this is lunacy, and the cost factors are going to skyrocket, but yet the people that are going to suffer the most are the farmers themselves. They're going to take a lot less for their product. What in the world's going on here?
Well, I don't know, Zeb, and the fact that those trucks, you know, they're creating the electric truck, the electricity in those trucks, the batteries alone weigh so much in a car. You have about 7,500 pounds of battery. You know, I don't know how they would think they could do all those trucks that are going to replace the barges. Maybe they're just assuming that once the dams are gone, that we won't have farming. I mean, let's get real. It could be the detriment of our entire state if this happens.
What you just said.
We need to, there needs to be a lot more pushback on this than there is.
You know, Linda, let me pursue this point a little further with you, because I get really mad when I hear people come out and say things like, well, we don't need agriculture in this country. We can import our food from other countries, i.e. Brazil, etc. That is the road to hell as far as I'm concerned, because once a country as strong as United States and their agricultural program goes out of existence, you become subservient to any country. When they want to cut off your food, they can bring you down to your knees.
Well, that's exactly right. In our state, that's predominant economic background for our state, and we must keep it. I mean, the entire United States is agriculture, and this just cannot happen. It can bring you to your knees, and it's just like cutting off the pipeline and cutting off the fossil fuels is the other thing that can finish us off. I guess I just don't understand how they don't see that.
But aren't we?
They think are we just printing money?
Yeah. You know, we're in such an inflationary mode right now. Trillion here, a trillion there, big deal. I mean, they refer to trillions today as we used to talk about thousands years ago when I was a kid. And right now our economy is so inflated, and it's so ridiculous with the money that's going and being wasted on so many trivial and frivolous things. I don't know. I think we're going to have to rely more on state government to put the hammer down to the feds. I don't know if you've thought of this, but I think the people need to have a different approach. Instead of going to the federal government, they're going to have to start making demands to you as a legislator for the state of Idaho to stand up and say to the federal government no, and not only no, but hell no on some of their policies that are hurting people.
Well, and I don't disagree with you, Zeb. It's kind of like they have you over a rock and a hard spot. Let's just talk about the CARES dollars that have come out. Idaho could totally turn them down. That doesn't mean they'll go back to the federal government. It means they'll go to California and they'll spend them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All these CARES dollars that are coming out now, and we're just about to see, by mid-March, another $1.2 billion come into our state from CARES 3.
You know, are you satisfied, Linda, as being a part of the legislature? Are you satisfied with what's going on? Are you satisfied with the accomplishments? Or do you sometimes go home at night and just grit your teeth and wonder what in the world is going on? Are you happy with what's going on so far?
Half of me is happy with some of the things that are happening. Some of the things are maybe time wasters. To me, you need to get down to the policy of the things you're talking about right now. The energy, the fossil fuels, the agriculture base. We need to get down to those things as opposed to worrying about whether I have a mask on or I don't have a mask on.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so I think that's my thing is I'll go home on the weekends and just scratch my head and say, I don't know how to fix this, because sometimes you can't fix crazy.
Do you see, and I don't mean to pin you down on this particular spot, but do you see a transition or a change of mood and spirit within the legislature up there of a more city-oriented or an urban-oriented legislature? In other words, I'm fearful that agriculture and rural Idaho is not going to be represented like it should and has been in the past. Do you share the same concern that I have?
Deb, I truly have not seen that yet. I think that the pushback, the big urban city, what we all think of as Boise, I guess I still don't put Twin Falls in as the urban city because they all seem so common sense. But because the urban city up here, which is Boise, is more to the left than the rest of us kind of fight that. So that's one way that the rest of the state kind of bands together. You know what I mean?
I do.
Why should they get the bulk of everything? Or if they have an issue, why do we change the laws for the rest of the state because Boise has an issue? And so I do think that the rest of us kind of band together on that. Anyway, I'm hoping.
Absolutely.
I think more and more. I think that probably 75% of the people up here believe it's an agriculture state and want to keep it an agriculture state.
Linda, now you're looking at into March, and I guess the obvious question is, are enough things being settled so that you may project what, an April 1st cutback on the legislative session, or are there a lot of hot issues that still have no answers?
You know, there are a few hot issues, but I think they will have answers by, they're really saying March 26th, Zeb, but here's the deal. Because this COVID money is coming in the middle of March, the legislature really want to be the one to allocate it. And so we may recess at the end of March, but yet then come back and allocate that money.
That makes sense, yeah.
There may be a little time to go home and gather our thoughts of the best way of what we have to do with this allocation that's coming our way.
If you were to say one issue that has been the most dominant up at the legislative session and has really hasn't had any good answers and a lot of friction connected to it, what is that one issue?
I think the balance of powers issue that came here due to the COVID this year. There were just lots of bills starting out right off the bat to take back what some of the legislators believed was really their right to do, and they've written and rewritten bills. I think, and this is just my third session, but I've never, unless I've just not been privy to it, I've never seen them rewrite bills so often, to try to get it right, because it's something that's so important to them.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably been the biggest thing this year. And so we'll probably see, we've seen a few of those bills come, and some of them I guess I could support, and some of them I couldn't. But I think the bulk of them we'll probably see this next week.
Linda, I want to tell you how much I respect what you're doing and how you're doing it. You are very good at explaining things on the radio. Linda Wright-Hartkin from District 24B in the House of Representatives, thank you for being on the Legislative Update. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb, and have a great day.
All right. Thank you, and the same right back at you. Thank you much. I really have a lot of respect for that lady, and she's doing a great job. And our program, Legislative Update, brought to you by Handy Truck Lines, 400 West, 100 South of Paul. Number to call, 438-5071. Dependable, honest carrier, partnered with similar carriers all over the Northwest to help all the transportation needs. Thank you, Handy Truck Lines over in Paul. Holy smokes, I've got to gather up and get some things done. I want to tell you quickly about Edith's Cafe. Oh, excellent food at Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley, right across from the golf course. And believe me, they do takeout and catering and everything else. You can call and find out more, 878-2248. Oh, my goodness sakes, they're open Tuesday through Thursday, 11 to 8, Fridays and Saturdays, 11 to 9. Stop over and enjoy great food. And don't forget, the week of St. Patrick's Day, they're going to have a special on corned beef. You don't want to miss that. It's going to be tasty at Edith's Cafe, 144 East Highway 81 in Burley. Time for the weather. And weather forecast brought to you by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh, the number to call, Don and the crew, 324-7657. Or you can go to their website and find out all about all the meats, scarrowsmeats.com. I mean, from the tri-tip all the way to the hams and the pork chops and the bacons and the sausages, it's all there and all delicious at Scarrow's Meats. And right now, here's Gina with the forecast.
Warming temperatures for today. We will see just a little bit of sunshine. Here's what's your weather forecast. We are expecting mostly sunny skies for today. A high of about 47, a slight breeze out of the southwest at about 5 miles an hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy skies, then gradually clearing in the overnight hours with a low of about 26. Tomorrow, Mostly sunny skies with a high of 49. Partly cloudy for tomorrow night with a low of 27. That's look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. I appreciate it. And brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And they are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Caller, I've got exactly 1 minute, and then I'm going to have to cut you off and wrap up the program. Go ahead, please.
Zeb, District 24B, what town or what county does that take in?
The Twin Falls and a little bit, I believe, going to the north side towards Jerome. And I stand to be corrected on some of the divisions, but primarily the Twin Falls area.
Okay, you know, when you say 24B, that didn't mean a thing to me.
Oh.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
All right, Bob. Thank you very much. Hey, by the way, I also want to give a great acknowledgement right here to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. And right now, right this very minute, yep, this second, they're celebrating a great big spring tire sale. Oh my! Save money and get the best of tires for your vehicle. Don't forget they've got all the tread designs. They've got all the sizes for all vehicles at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Please stop in and check it out today. Along with it, I want to urge you to make sure that your brakes are in great fashion. And they've got the best of highly trained brake technicians, and they can help you with that, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more. But above all, they always provide the best in service to you. Please stop in. You'll find out what I mean. James and Buell, Dan on Pole Line in Twin Falls, Lane and Rupert, Mike and Jerome, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, the Twist family in Paul, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Our Bible verse for today is short and sweet, but yet it means so much. From 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16, always be joyful. There you go. And, of course, our words that mean the most to us at the end of the program, the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the 4 words that mean the most to me, in God we trust. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.